Reading Progress and Reading Coach. My name's Shirley Lawson and I'm Assistive Technology and ASN teacher here at Call Scotland. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Harriet Benbow, formerly Harriet Brownlee, an Education Support Officer for Digital Learning at Perth and Kinross Council, and also a Microsoft Innovative Education expert. How are you doing, Harriet?
Hello, I'm very well. I'm still getting used to that name myself, to be honest. I was going to introduce myself as Harriet Brownlee, so, you know.
Yeah, it's funny when you change your name, it does take a while to get used to it.
Definitely.
So really looking forward to hearing more about this new but not so new tool which can help learners with reading fluency. And I think that people have heard about it mentioned, but maybe not overly familiar with exactly what it is. But after today, hopefully you'll all have a much clearer picture and hopefully be able to think of learners that you can use it out with. So we've got Robert here in the background. Hi, Robert.
Hi there.
Here's our tech guy, always useful and very handy to have him. So he's recording the webinar today. Everyone will be sent a link to it afterwards. And then the archived webinars sit on our website that anybody can access after today. So Harriet's going to be presenting for about 20 minutes. If you have any questions as you go along, please do put them in the chat pane. I will then facilitate a question and answer session at the end. And yeah, so just as you say, type your questions in as you go along, or we can just wait till the end and we can put them in that way. So I will now pass over to you, Harriet. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So yeah, as Shirley said, I'm Harriet Benbow, and I am an Education Support Officer for Digital Learning in Perth and Kinross Council. Previously, I was a primary teacher, so this is a massive passion of mine. I got into digital technology because I saw what a help it was to learners with dyslexia, additional support needs, and just universal supports that could support all learners. And I definitely think Reading Progress and Reading Coach is one of these tools that really has helped me in my practice. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what that is, and then I'm going to go through a demo with you, and at the end I can answer any questions that you have as well. So first of all, kind of looking at the broad kind of set of tools that Microsoft have come up with recently. Microsoft Reading Progress and Reading Coach sit under the Learning Accelerator title because they are a set of tools which provide you with insights into the learner's kind of skills and where they need to develop. And the coach aspect of it will provide them with kind of practice in terms of what they need to do better. So they've come up with a few things recently. So we're going to look at reading today, but also they are coming up with Maths Progress and Coach, which is going to be coming out later on this year, hopefully. Also, they've got Microsoft Reflect now, which is a kind of check-in tool for learners' well-being. They've also got Search Progress and Coach, which is all about learners' digital literacy, so how well they're able to find information online. They've also got Speaker Coach, which is really a great tool for practicing listening and talking, and I've actually used that myself to kind of see what feedback Microsoft can give me on my presenting skills. And then in the background of all of that, you get insights into the learner's skills and abilities. So Microsoft have created these to kind of promote that kind of independent learning. So there's two sides to it. Reading Progress is all about assigning the learners an assessment, which they then do themselves, and then you're getting real-time feedback on how they do. The coach aspect is taking that feedback and providing them with activities to practice. So all that Reading Progress and Coach is focusing on is their reading fluency. And so the progress side of that is listening to how fluently they're talking and providing you with data about how fluently they are reading. And then the coach aspect is providing the learner with activities to practice. So the typical flow of a learning accelerator is that first of all, the teacher will assign them the task. So they do that through Microsoft Teams, and I'll show you that in a second. Then the student will receive that assignment and complete it. And also in the background, they will then get the coach aspect where they practice what they get wrong. And then the teacher will get some feedback on how they do, and then can support that learner with where they need to go next in terms of reading fluency. And then the teacher can have a look long term at how well they are doing and what their progress is. So I am going to stop sharing this just now, and I am going to share a clickable demo, which I can provide you with the link to later if you want to go through it again. So this is provided by Microsoft, and the reason I'm using this rather than showing you something that I've done before is because at the moment I don't actually have any learners in my teams because I am not actually teaching this year. So reading progress is quite a new feature that Microsoft have provided. And the reason they provided that is because they feel that there was a bit of a gap in terms of the tools out there for reading fluency. So this is part of the Microsoft Teams suite of tools. So if you have any Microsoft Teams, if you're a Scottish educator, you should be quite familiar to how this looks because you should all have access to this via Glow. You can set your class up as a team just by the top right-hand corner here. It says join or create team. You'll be able to press that, assign it to any learners that you've got and have a team set up. So if this was my team now, unfortunately, it is American because Microsoft, a lot of their demos and things are based for the American audience, but it would look like this tab here. So if I clicked into that, you have this team already set up as soon as you click join or create team. Down the left-hand side, there are a variety of different things you have. Your class notebook, so that is a OneNote notebook that you can use with your learners. And then the assignments tab is what we're going to look at just now. So if you went into your assignments tab, you might have nothing there if you've not created an assignment before, but if you press create, you can create either an assignment or you can create a quiz using Microsoft Forms. So you can give it a title, any title that you want, and then you can also provide learners with instructions if you want to do that too. Now, you would then press the attach option and you've got a variety of things that you can attach as an assignment. You can add something like a Word document from OneDrive, but you can also provide reading progress. So if you click on the reading progress, you then come up with this window here. Now, the thing I think is really useful about reading progress is the fact that you can browse the sample library, which is very extensive. It is in American grades, but what I found as a primary teacher is that you can always find an assignment that suits the needs and level of the different learners within your class. But you can also import your own Word documents and PDFs. So if you have specific words you're wanting to look at in terms of how fluently your learners are reading, or if you perhaps wanted to create your own reading using words that you're going to be learning that term, or indeed if you've got a reading scheme that you use in your school, you could import it as a Word or PDF file, and then that would be the reading assignment. So if I press that, and if I uploaded one from OneDrive, then I could use that as my reading assignment. So once you've uploaded it, you will see this window here, which has the preview of the text, and it also has some options you have on the right-hand side. Now, for the reading level, again, it is American, so I tend to just leave it as whatever they decide the reading level is. But again, it depends on your learning within your school. Then you can do things like select what genre it is, number of attempts. If it was an assessment, I personally would only give them one attempt so that they can't redo it, because you probably want that data to show their first attempt, how they got on. But again, it's totally up to you. Time limit, again, I probably wouldn't give them one if it's younger learners, but again, you might want to see how fluently they're reading under pressure. And then your pronunciation sensitivity. So depending how your learners are talking, how clear they are, you can make it more sensitive or less sensitive as well. Once you've then created your assignment, you are able to view it as a student to see that it looks the way you want it to look. Now, part of the new update, which isn't actually on this demo, is the fact you can now embed a Microsoft form into this assignment. So if you wanted to test your learners' comprehension on top of this, you can also do that now as well. And that is in this window too. So if I press student view, I can then see what they would see. In this window here, it would show you a picture of your camera. Okay, so what they see, what I would see as myself. But you don't, again, need to use that. You can turn that off if you think that would be off-putting for your learners. They only see it in this window. They don't see it throughout the assignment. You can also test your microphone to see that it's working. And then you would get the countdown, and then that's when the learner would read out loud to their computer. You can also use the features of Immersive Reader. So again, they can change text sizes, increase the spacing between their words, and also what I quite like for dyslexic learners is they can change the background. So if they're used to using a coloured overlay, they can use that too. And then they can scroll down as they're reading, and once they're finished, they can press I'm done. Then if you've given them a number of attempts, they'd be asked if they want to try again or use this recording. If it was a one-time recording, no more attempts, then they would just press I'm done, and that would be them submitting. Once you're happy with how your assignment looks, you can press next, and then you can assign it to them. You can also change the date that it's due and give them a bit of time. And also this can be done at home or in the classroom. So once you've assigned it, it will then sit in the assignments on that class team. So if I go in as a learner now, I would go into my class team as a child, and then I would see that I have now in the general section got an assignment that is due. I would then press view assignment, and that is where this window would come up where I would be asked and prompted to do reading out loud. Then once I'd done my reading out loud, this is where the reading coach aspect comes. So I can upload my assignment, and then it is going to come up with the words that I found tricky when I was doing my reading assignment. So any words that I might have missed out, any words that I mispronounced, they would come up. The ones that were most frequently mispronounced would come up, and I could kind of do a deep dive into those words. So I could then stretch those words so into different syllables. I could get them shown as picture dictionary, and I could also have them read out loud. And then I can press the microphone and practice reading those words. It will then automatically give me feedback as to if I read that word correctly or not. And I could practice that a number of times. So once I've done this in the background, the teacher will get feedback on how I'm doing with all of my reading coach and progress. So here in the reading assignments bit, I have my list of students and who's turned it in and who hasn't at the moment. So if I go to a learner that's turned it in, I can have a look and I can see what words specifically that learner has mispronounced, omitted, inserted, repeated, or self-corrected. And it will come up colour coded for each of these. It can also tell me how accurately I have read out loud and how many words per minute I've read out loud. I can also watch my learners recording if that's been something that I have put in the options that they've recorded it. So if there was a specific learner within your class that you wanted to see how well they did, you could go back and have a look at that. So once I've done that, if I think that the learner needs more practice, I can assign them more assignments to do with the challenge words that I feel they need to practice more. So here I can see exactly what the learner has done, first of all, in terms of words, and then I've provided them with some feedback, and then I have returned that assignment to that learner. I can then go to other learners and see exactly what they have done as well. So I can give specific feedback to learners. Then the insights part is the part where you get data on your whole class and how they are doing. So you'll be able to see exactly how your class are doing in terms of reading fluency. So you can see the average accuracy rate. You can see the variety of kind of attempts that learners have made as well. And also they provide you with these graphs. So as you can see here, I can see clearly what learners have got, like in terms of reading accuracy, mispronunciations, omissions, and insertions. And I can also see the average words per minute, and I can go across the dates. So if I'm wanting to do this every term, say, I could have a graph that shows me exactly how my learners are doing at different times of the year. Then again, I can see the accuracy rate, and they also provide a word cloud in terms of the challenge words that have been created. So the bigger words are the words that they have mispronounced the most, and that could be the words that I then practice with my learners more. So if you upload a Word document that includes tricky words that you might be learning that term, it's a really good way of seeing if the learners have learned those words. And then I can create challenge assignments. So here I've got my challenging words, and I can then select what words I want to include within an assignment and create that for the learners to practice even more. And also you can filter up the top if you're wanting specific genres, specific reading levels, and how many days ago you want to look at it. Another great feature is the fact that you can assign specific groups, specific reading. So again, you can differentiate depending on the levels in your class. You don't need to give all learners the same assignment. So you can specifically give learners reading that suits their reading age and stage. Okay, and that's just showing you some comparative data there as well from a different genre. So I would say I've gone through that quite quickly, but that is basically what Reading Progress and Reading Coach is. It is basically a tool to assess where your learners are at with their reading fluency. And the insights part of it is the fact that you can kind of deep dive into specific learners, but you can also see very clearly how your class are doing as a whole. So has anyone got any questions?
There are a couple of questions in there, Harriet. First of all, just asking, do all the features like stretching the words out work when using an iPad?
As far as I'm aware, my learners have used the iPad for Reading Progress, and yeah, it seems to do all these kind of features of, you know, even the picture dictionary, all of that. It should look the same.
Good, good, thank you. Another question there says, can anyone else in the class group see the recording or just the teacher?
Just the teacher. So that again is a good feature. You know, even the learners can't rewatch their video. It's only the teacher that has access to that. It's not like the learners can go back and watch their feature for this.
Right. A bit like the OneNote class notebook where the teacher can see all the notebooks, but the actual individual pupils can just see their own one there.
Exactly.
Good. Just someone is asking, says, this is fantastic. Is there a written guide we could get at the end of the session to help set it up?
So the beauty of Microsoft is that they've produced so many helpful kind of educator guides. The Microsoft Learn pathways are really great for learning about different Microsoft tools. So again, I can send a link in the chat after this. It really easy to go onto Microsoft Learn and search for specific kind of features, and they usually give you some how-to guides, little videos as well. And there's also, I'm sure, a webinar on YouTube on how to use Reading Progress and Reading Coach, so it's quite useful.
Yes, I've seen that one. So that, yeah, there is lots of information, but it'd be great if you had a specific link we could put in there. So another question we've got, how do you give one class different assignments?
So with my team, I always had them grouped. So I had learners grouped into their levels. But basically, when you've got your assignment open, you can just select the learners that are going to get that assignment. So you don't need to select the whole class. If you've got specific learners you want that assignment to go to, you can select those specific learners.
Great. Yeah, so very personalised there for your
Absolutely.
class. Here's one that's preempted with, this is a dumb question, but we know there's no such thing. Says, since the system uses speech to text to measure comprehension, is it valid with pupils who have strong Scottish accents or perhaps indistinct speech?
So that's where the sensitivity bar would come along, I think. So for learners that have got any sort of kind of accent that you think the computer might not pick up, that's where you would put it as more sensitive. But what I've found is that most of what comes back is accurate. And I would just say maybe for your first attempt to record it as well, so that you can then look back. If there's a specific learner you're wondering how they're going to pick it up, it's always good to have a bit of a human input and see if that is correct.
Yes, that would be good there. So someone asking just about whether you need to sign into Glow to access Reading Progress and Reading Coach.
So it kind of varies on how your authority is set up. I know for us, we have to set up a Glow team for our learners, but if you've got access to teams with your learners without Glow, then yeah, it's going to be in the assignments tab. It just really depends on how it's set up in your authority.
Yeah, so basically through Office 365, whether it's through Glow or not, you've got access to it. So question here, all the questions are firing in, so that's great. Just in terms of, is there a way to have the passage read to the learners? So you're basically essentially modelling the reading. This is Alan saying, I've been using the Reading Progress tool for a couple of months and I've recently shifted to setting it as homework. So I've attached my own audio recording of me reading it for them to listen ahead of them practicing and uploading their recording.
Amazing. So I actually have asked this before myself, because obviously it would be quite nice for learners to hear it, but the only thing I can think of is using Immersive Reader. So you can use Immersive Reader within, the notebook section of Teams. So you could have that piece of reading within the OneNote and have them use Immersive Reader to hear it read out loud by the computer, and then they would have to go in and go to Reading Progress. But that Microsoft are always keen to get feedback, so if that's something that you think would be really useful, then I would suggest just go into that support button on Microsoft and add in that, because they are always keen to hear of feedback.
That's great when it can be things that using user feedback can actually then make improvements.
Definitely, they do seem to want that. They're very keen on that.
Yeah. When I saw you using Immersive Reader there, and you were talking about personalizing the setting and perhaps changing the background color, was it possible to use the line focus?
Yes, so the line focus is there as well. So for people that don't know Immersive Reader, you can then specifically hone in on whatever line the learner is reading at that moment in time, so that they're not seeing the whole document at once. It's just one line at a time or 2 lines at a time.
Yeah, because that's been a very useful one for
Definitely.
some of the dyslexic learners I've been working with. A question about, do you think you could use this to support a learner who has English as an additional language?
Definitely. I wouldn't actually know about them reading it out in their own native tongue. I'm not sure how that would work, and I haven't tried it before. But again, Microsoft are quite quite mindful of that. Usually in terms of immersive reader, you can translate whole documents. So I can't imagine that if you assigned it as a different language, if they read it out loud in that language, it's worth a try. I haven't tried that before. It's a good question, but yeah, if it doesn't at the moment, it should.
Well, quite often the tools that are there for learners with literacy difficulties or dyslexia are absolutely useful for learners with English and additional language. Questioning from Paul, just he's interested about whether we can use reading progress to compare a pupil's reading with and without immersive reader as a method of evaluating the impact of immersive reader. Do you think that would be helpful?
So again, you would probably need to that would probably be a classroom task, because you would need to be aware of if the learner was accessing immersive reader and if they weren't. So that would need a bit of teacher guidance, I think, but it would definitely be worthwhile, because you would get some really good data out of that and see how helpful immersive reader is for a learner.
Yes, and I suppose in the same way you'd be looking for evidence and learners just reading in the traditional way as opposed to how they get on once they start using reading progress. That would be interesting to see. Another question just about, does the learner see the level of text they're reading?
No. So the learners don't see any of that kind of stuff that was on the right hand side. They don't see any of the features that you've given them. They will just be given an activity to do, and whatever the things you've done to refine that or differentiate it for that learner, they won't be aware of that.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, I think that's all the questions that seem to be there at the moment.
Amazing.
But yeah, no, thank you. If you have that link,
I
just
will
on
pop
getting
the demo
started,
link in, and then I will get Microsoft Learn as well for you.
That would be great. And we do have somebody who's been using the tool with EAL pupils, and it can cope with accent. So saying they're varying success with this, but definitely something worth a try. So thank you for that link put in. Really look forward to seeing the maths progress and the maths coach.
Absolutely. I think if it's anything like what they're saying it will be so useful, because it basically will have this kind of intuitive way of producing more questions that are similar to the questions they're already answering. So again, it's just basically giving that instant feedback, which is fab.
And do you have a release date for that one?
We don't at the moment.
Coming soon.
And the wellbeing tool is up and running. So Microsoft Reflect, I would highly recommend having a look at that as well, because it is an amazing tool and you only need one device to use it. It doesn't even need one-to-one devices. So it's a really good tool.
Great. Well, so much in there. You've done really well to compress it into 20 minutes when we. But it's been a fantastic overview, and it's really good to see how it can be used, and to think as a teacher to for a tool to give them insight into their learners' skills and give them that real-time feedback and help to formulate next steps for them. So thank you so much, Harriet, for coming along and doing that today.
Please feel free to catch me on, well, I know it's not Twitter anymore, X, but if anyone wants any more kind of information or that, please just feel free to get in touch. And I'd love to see what people do with it as well.
Yes, well, it's good sharing the stories, especially good and bad if something doesn't work, it's good to hear, but generally very good feedback on it. And yeah, thank you so much. Lots of nice comments coming in for you there.
Oh, I know, that's lovely.
Yeah. No, that's great, and lovely to thank you for everyone for logging in today. Hope you've enjoyed the session. I think by the comments, I think you have. And as I say, you'll be getting a recording sent to you after today. So thank you very much, and everyone have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, Robert. Bye.